Podcast ulit wala pa.
Munawir versi sofrok ada nggak kakak?
Nggak ada bang, soft. Soft kosong.
Udah, makasih Kak. Assalamualaikum. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya maaf banget, Munawir nggak ada soft lock.
In Indonesia, many people believe that fortune isn't just about money. It's about health. It's about strong family bonds. It's about having people to rely on, about finding joy in the simplest moments. But in a world that treats wealth as the ultimate measure of success, does anyone still believe that? If financial power were the only key to happiness, then Indonesia, despite having one of the lowest GDPs per capita in the world, shouldn't even come close to being one of the happiest countries. Yet somehow it is. But how does that make sense? If Indonesia is truly one of the happiest places, then surely the data would reflect that, right? Because when I was researching about happiness for another video, I stumbled upon an image that ranks Indonesia as the second happiest country in the world. This one image caught me off guard instantly. Not because Indonesia doesn't seem like a happy place, but rather because I'd never seen it ranked that high before. So I checked another website that's far more widely used and more familiar to me. And here, Indonesia was ranked 80th in the same year, practically buried under countries that, at least on paper, are supposed to be doing better.
Kungfu janda.
This got me thinking, how can the same country be seen as both happy and unhappy at the same time? How can two different ways of measuring happiness produce results that contradict each other so drastically? And maybe more importantly,
Yang pakai media Tima lagi atau enggak Bang? Oh pakai, harus pakai.
let me ask you,
Harus pakai Bang.
especially if you're Indonesian,
FDL lokasi mana Jawa Tengah Kebumen Bang.
not in the way surveys measure it, of course, not in terms of current GDP or political stability as well.
Ini harus pakai timah lagi
On a
nanti.
day-to-day basis,
Untuk timahnya bisa setting sendiri ya. Kadang pemakaian orang itu beda-beda.
things are as good as they should be.
Ada yang senang posisinya di sini, ada yang senang mepet, ada yang senang di sini.
Supposed to be one of the happiest countries in the world, and yet, depending on how we measure happiness, it somehow is. So, which version is real? If life were measured by numbers alone, Indonesia's economy would tell a simple story. With a GDP per capita of just under $5,000,
Untuk timahnya sih bisa di setting sendiri ya.
the difference is staggering compared to
Ada yang suka posisi segini di air, apa segini.
logically
Kalau untuk timah bisa disetting sesuai kesukaan
and, by extension,
para pemancing.
through the streets of Jakarta, the beaches of
Mengucapkan hai juga Bang FDL.
The reality is different.
Thank you sudah mampir.
They joke with strangers. They sit together on sidewalks, sharing food.
Tolong dibantu subscribe.
Without any rush to be somewhere else. Happiness, it seems, isn't dictated by economic power alone. The 2024 World Happiness Report ranks Indonesia 80th out of 137 countries. Not at the top, but still higher than many wealthier nations. Germany, for example, has seen a decline in happiness despite its high GDP, falling to 24th place. Meanwhile, Turkey, with a GDP per capita of $13,000, ranks far lower than Indonesia at 106th. These numbers challenge the assumption that wealth automatically leads to well-being. I think one reason for this is a strong sense of collectivism that Indonesians have.
Ya,
A
mantap.
2023 study by Meta and Gallup found that most young people in Indonesia feel they receive the support they need from family and friends. This research also aligns with Geert Hofstede's cultural dimensions, which ranks Indonesia as a highly collectivist society where success and hard work
Asamil Awil, hi, welcome.
they have a deep-rooted culture where people don't struggle alone, where a neighbor's problem becomes the community's concern, and where financial hardship is softened by a deep-rooted belief that life is meant to be
Thank
shared.
you Asamil Awil.
Who said that there's an old belief that if my neighbor became a thief because he is hungry and I do not help him, I am also guilty for his thievery. This post alone pretty much sums up the collectivism value in Indonesian society. Religion also plays a big role in Indonesia. About 87% of the population is Muslim, while the rest shared belief that life is meant to be lived with kindness, gratitude, and responsibility toward others. That's why gotong royong, or the Indonesian version of mutual cooperation, isn't just a cultural value, it's a way of life. Helping someone in need isn't seen as charity, it's just what you do. If a neighbor struggles, you step in. If a friend is in trouble, you don't wait for them to ask. It's the same mindset as that Quora post I mentioned earlier. But life in Indonesia isn't easy for everyone. In fact, around 10% of the population still lives below the poverty line, and underemployment is a massive challenge. Financial struggles are real in this part of the world, but if money was everything, shouldn't the richest countries be the happiest? Yet, study after study shows the opposite, and that's where community makes all the difference. In Indonesia, personal success is rarely an individual achievement, it's a shared effort. A child getting into university isn't just their parents' pride, it's a moment for the whole neighborhood to celebrate.
Subtris welkah berapa harganya? Oh, untuk harga tergantung panjang pendeknya pelampung, Bang.
No matter financially or emotionally, there's an unspoken understanding that help will come. This is gotong royong in action, the idea that no one carries burdens alone. Meanwhile, in Western cultures, independence is often seen as a marker of success. Moving out early or handling problems alone is a proof for self-sufficiency. In Indonesia, strength isn't measured by how much you can do on your own. It's measured by the people who will show up for you when you need them. There's a reason why the pace of life in Indonesia is different depending on where you are. In rural areas, where nature is closer and communities are tighter, time feels slower. There's less pressure to constantly be achieving something. People take time to chat, to rest, to simply exist without guilt. It's not that life is easy. In fact, many people still rely on unstable incomes, but there's a rhythm to daily life that feels more sustainable. In urban centers, especially in cities such as Jakarta, Bandung, and Surabaya, we can see a different side of Indonesia, a side that's constantly moving, adapting, and competing. The cost of living is much higher, the workdays are longer, and traffic alone can drain hours from someone's life. Yet even in these cities, collectivism is still thriving, and gotong royong still finds its way into daily life. Take Kerjabakti, for instance, a tradition where entire neighborhoods come together to clean their neighborhood without any government order, without any payments. They just do it because they have a shared understanding that some things are best done together. The contrast between urban and rural happiness of Indonesia isn't just about the lifestyle alone, it's mostly about expectations. In big cities, the desire to chase more can create a restlessness that's harder to satisfy. But in smaller towns, where ambitions are measured in community rather than competition, contentment comes easier. So, if money and wealth were really the deciding factor, places with the highest GDP per capita should be the happiest. Yet, time and time again, reports show that wealth wealthier nations struggle with loneliness, burnout, and declining mental well-being. Japan, for example, is one of the richest countries in the world, yet social isolation is such a widespread issue that the government had to appoint a minister of loneliness. The US, despite its economic power, also faces rising levels of anxiety, stress, and dissatisfaction, especially among younger generations. Maybe the problem isn't wealth itself, maybe it's how it's used, the expectation it creates, and what people give up to get it. When life starts feeling like a transaction, when you're trading time for money and treating relationships like deals, it gets harder to feel real happiness. Indonesia's lower GDP per capita means fewer luxuries, fewer conveniences, and fewer opportunities for extreme financial success. But it also means success isn't measured by burnout. People work hard, but they don't define their worth by endless competition. Instead of chasing status, there's a stronger focus on relationships, community, and a sense of belonging. None of this means Indonesia is a utopia. People still struggle financially. Inequality is real, and modern life is shifting traditional values. But if there's one thing that hasn't changed, it's generosity. Despite their financial struggles, Indonesia has been the world's most generous country for shared responsibility that has always defined Indonesia still holds strong. Because happiness in Indonesia has never been about money, wealth, or luxury. It's about presence, about knowing that no matter what happens, someone will be there. That's not something that can be measured in GDP. It's not something that can be bought. And as long as that foundation holds, Indonesia might just stay one of the happiest places on earth, no matter what the economy says. And in the end, isn't that what truly matters? A dinner table filled with laughter, a late night conversation that makes time disappear, a hand on your shoulder when the world feels heavy. These don't make headlines, they don't boost GDP in global rankings, but they're what make life worth living. Because in the end, happiness isn't about how much you have, it's about knowing what truly matters.
Most people come to Indonesia for the beaches, the waterfalls, the temples. But what if instead of booking a resort, you ended up in a remote village nobody talks about, relying entirely on the kindness of strangers
Thank you for watching. See you next video.
and how to connect
Bye.
with
Assalamualaikum.
them